Good morning, Facebook viewers out there. And I hope your day, evening, or morning is going very well for you. And welcome to another of our Love Speaks. This is a new little chat show that Janine and I have got going on. And we'll be bringing this to you probably about every 3 weeks. And we'll put our advertising out as to what the topics are when we're going there. So I hope you enjoy, and you can absolutely join in on the conversation with putting some comments and things. I'm going to, when we get into the conversation, I'm going to connect onto Facebook on my page on my phone. So excuse my head being down while I do that. And then you'll be able to comment and bring in questions and all that sort of thing, and we'll be able to bring you into the conversation as well. So welcome, and good morning, Janine.
Yes, good morning, darling lady. It's lovely to be here again with you, and we've had so many conversations over the last few years, and it's nice to include the Facebook family in these conversations now, isn't it? And just, I mean, one day we may even have a webinar, and not televise it, but have that live, and so we actually have people come on. But at the moment, it's the comments, and we look forward to that participation and feeling the energy of anybody that feels pulled to come on in and be a part of this with us.
Absolutely. And today's topic's new beginnings and endings, or endings and new beginnings.
Relevant? Isn't that relevant?
So relevant. I'll let you just bring that in, and I'm just going to go in and connect on here.
Okay. So endings and new beginnings. Wow. This is the world. This is our world as a whole right now. This is change, and this is us living through endings and new beginnings on a daily, hourly, moment by moment basis right now. And as a world and personally within our lives, we have everything that's not serving our highest good right now is ending, and in its place we are learning and reconnecting to all that does serve our highest good, and bringing that in so that we can live our best life. So fabulous topic, and be a fabulous conversation over the next hour, Mandy.
I reckon, and we've had some really personal things too, of course, that we can go into and share, but it's been, just even observing everyone's lives and having clients come in, looking for guidance and direction and things like that. There's so much upheaval, there's so much chaos and turmoil, and there is a huge, sort of vibrationary array or level of fear that's in amongst that as well, which can hinder us. And I know for my own self, processing and going through life and learning more about who I am and how this universe works and how I am the universe and how it works through me and with me and as me. We do have a lot of fear. I used to be drenched in it, and to that point where I'd be the possum in headlights, just frozen in fear from actually making decisions or choices around my life, because I didn't want to get it wrong and make a mistake, and it was the judgment of others if I had done that. And, those sorts of things used to just run through my head all the time and stop me from just moving on peacefully and calmly into new things. But now, of course, differently, I know that I've learned to listen to the inner voice. I am the inner voice now. It's not like I have a lot of head chatter going on, although I must say over the last 2 years, with all this disruption and turmoil going on in the world, I've been taken back into the mind quite a bit, and that was with the overload of information that we all got passed through, didn't we? And it was then sifting through it all. We had to sift through. I couldn't just shove it away and go, no, I'm not interested in having a look at that. I had to always have a look. Then I'd have to sift through it and see where I parked it up or I let it go, whatever. Oh goodness, but it was messy for me too, I have to say. It took me into spaces, and when I say messy, it's a great messy, because it's taking you into spaces that you needed to, or I know I needed to release the final, maybe final, I don't really know, there might be more round that I have to go yet. But it's like final parts of these really deep threads from our existence and time that we needed to let go of, because this world has been playing out, has been going on through all our lifetimes. So we have huge amounts of stuff to actually release, and those do bring fear, they do, but once we move through them, you feel the freedom, and you feel the expansion, and the widening, the expanding heart that opens up, and the truth is sitting there. We know what the truth is. We don't have to sift through it anymore. And at that point, we can make clear decisions around what movement we need to make. But yeah, gets a little choppy before that happens.
You know what you've just been saying about the last couple of years and the overload of information. Oh my gosh, how many people, listening to this now, and how many people that will view this can put their hand up like you and me and say that over the last 2 years, information overload has taken us to so many levels of ourselves. Like something would come up there, oh my God, then we'd share it, then we'd talk about it. And then we started to just pull back a little and learnt discernment, and realised that the whole thing was about discerning. Does this feel right? Does this not feel right? And then that discernment even went to another level, and we started realising, is knowing this information serving me and my highest good, or is it drawing me into that old part of myself, the old world part, the programmed part? So there's been a massive amount of learning in the last 2 years, and so many I know now have just stepped right back from it, us included, have just stepped right back from it and realised where our power lies, where the truth of us lies, and it has nothing to do with any of that information, any of those stories that are constantly being fed through social media. And yes, there are elements of truth within that, but there's more untruth than truth. There's a bit of truth fed in to keep people connected up, to keep them right in there. But there's also so much untruth that's being deliberately fed, and that's deliberately to keep us in that old program. And so we're all wise to that now. And it's like, not interested in that now.
No. And the funny thing was that we actually weren't really.
No.
We just got nosy. I know I did. I got nosy, and I thought, no, this doesn't feel right, and I wanted to know more about why it didn't feel right. And what was uncovered was just hideous. And then it was like, well, why are you still in that space? And I used to think that and know that it had no the impact that it was having on myself, my body, and my mental state was just not healthy.
No.
If I really let it, if I allowed it to be there, it was not healthy.
It's human nature, I think, Mandy. It's human nature we read these grabbing headlines, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'll just take a peek and see what that's about. And then the next thing you know, an hour's gone past, you've watched a whole video and there's been all this information, and it's like, wow, now how do I feel? I don't feel very good after all that, So it's all learning, isn't it?
It is all learning.
Yeah.
And I know, when I was moving through my old programming and all the emotional stuff, and I think I've said this before, Spirit was showing me us moving through the denser emotional space, coming then into a flat line, which I said, oh, but that's death. And they laughed and go, yes. And I said, oh my goodness, so we just do all this stuff and then we go. No, they said, and laugh. And then they're showing me the next levels, which were the higher joy and love and all the rest of it. And when I was showing this, I said, gosh, that state up here is going to be would it be boring? I said to them, because all this stuff here's got all this hype in it because it's all dramatic, and all the love joy stuff's all very, calm and lovely. And will that have enough for us? And honestly, the switch over for me, it's like I can't do the drama. And that's what that stuff was for me. It was like all this drama. It was like, why do we want it? We don't need it.
Absolutely.
Really bizarre.
But we're used to drama, and that's how we used to identify ourselves, and the masses of the population still do. They identify themselves by the drama in their life, and if they can become the rescuer in that drama, if they can, whatever part they want to play in that story, that drama is how they identify themselves. So, but we're learning a new way of identifying ourselves now, and it has absolutely nothing to do with drama, as you've just said, you know. So it has everything to do, actually, not even with love and joy and happiness and all that. We learn that part as well as we release the heavier, but we're learning who we are in the neutrality. And that I believe is the flat line that you just mentioned. So we go from the heavy through the flat line and up to the light, play in those realms and fields for a while, and really get to know what life is like from all the lightness. And then we start to realize neutrality. And from neutrality, it's like we have a 360-degree view of ourself and our world. And it's like a everlasting breath out, if you like, and into peace, and being a part of everything without being a part of it. Sorry?
Yes. Without being in it.
Exactly. Being a part of everything, being detached from it without being in it. And that is where we're headed to in the new world. So we can become something. We can experience the tree, the leaf, the dewdrop, the sunlight, whatever we want to, the breeze, the ocean. We can become it. And experience it that way, but we do it from a neutral state. So, you know, and for myself, I'm learning that neutral state more and more, and I'm realizing the expansiveness and the limitlessness of that state. So, but right now I'm still seeking the joy, the love, and all those yummy, playful, happy pieces that are around at the moment too, because we're not yet in that world where we will be neutral all the time. So moving.
And it took I love neutral, I really do. And
of course you do. That's purely,
and it's just purely experiencing without the judgment, without the mind going into a story, a narrative, whatever. It's just is purely experiencing. And that part for me is what I know, that's what I believe we came for. It was purely about experiencing, being in a human form and being able to touch, feel, sense, smell, all these gorgeous things, because we can't do that when we're not in a form.
No.
And God needed to know who he was by being in form. So created form and then found out what it was around and about. But I know for me in that whole state over these last couple of years, when I sat and I thought, what actually is required is more energetic work, more energy work, rather than the mental and the physical going out holding a banner. I mean, all of that was great. I'll put a but we won't go there. But anyway, then it's like when I was working in the energy state of it, it was my thing was that I won't be seen to be doing anything. And it felt like if you weren't doing something, if you weren't showing that you were, trying to actually change this and do something about it in a positive way, then there was a lot of judgment around people who weren't seen to be protesting or to be, the voice in a sense for that state. And I found that really difficult in many ways to just to be able to be who I was, I suppose, in it. And it took me back to being aware from a young child, as you would know, you don't really feel like you fit. And I know there's hundreds and thousands of beings out there that feel the same way and have felt that way. And then when you sort of come out, like I did, you know, when as a teenager or a late teen into my early 20s, I started actually working with it and acknowledging that I was clairvoyant, medium, all these things, which I kept quiet, but I started saying it at least and putting it out there. And then there was that judgment around that. You know, she's the witch or whatever it might be, all the old narrative and all the old judgments that have been around for our lifetimes. And this felt like that too. This felt like, you know, we were going back to this huge point in time where we were, you know, being picked at and nitpicked about who we were, what we were up to, what our beliefs were. And it's probably in many ways, I know now, you know, there's this certainty that people have all made their choices and now it's just a matter of get on with life, you know. And I feel that sense of freedom in that, and I feel there's a huge amount of people out there with that sort of sense at the moment too, that we can now leave this a bit now and move on, which I think is a great thing.
Absolutely. I believe that we all we're right where we're meant to be, and that for some it's hugely important that they take action, and they are the ones feet on the ground with the out there protesting and doing their bit, and that's what they need to do. And then there's those of us that know that holding the energetic space for love to do its work here, to penetrate every area of shadow, is also a huge part of this. So, you know, we're all links in the chain. I have to have a laugh because before, when you said, you know, there's thousands and thousands of us that have never felt like we fitted. Well, you know, the reason for that is because this is not our world. So we don't fit this world because it isn't our world. It's a programmed illusional world, and so even though we've never had full access to the truth, our deepest truth of who and what we are, because the program has stopped that, we've always had the sense that we don't fit. We know enough to know that all these rules and regulations of this reality are not right and are not the world that we are at home in.
Yes.
You know, so but that's why we're here, to make that change. And we've come in this time after contracting with ourselves to release ourselves from the program and to help raise a beautiful new world. And you know, we know that, we know why we're here, and that's what we're doing right now, is where we have contracted that we will never ever come into a life experience again not knowing who and what we are. So this is it. So this is perfect for endings and new beginnings, because we are ending the program within ourselves in this life, and we are beginning where the new beginning is the new world, and us fitting into a world we're creating right now within us. And that is exciting. That is exciting.
It is exciting. And just, you know, I mean, I just want to say to people, just move on. Like, honestly, if it feels like you're worn out and you're tired and you're absolutely just feeling like there's nowhere to go in the world that you're in, then turn around somewhere and have a look for an out, because there'll be something that your soul, your inner being is pushing or trying to get you to say, maybe have a look at. And you know, after working emotionally with a lot of clients over the years, I've come to the point where I've realized that that emotion is a choice. It has huge triggers. We do have those, and we hold those in our body, and I get that, the memories and the connections to them and emotional connection to them and all that. And yes, they trigger and they fire us off. But when we have done enough work on self and removing or integrating a lot of that old emotion around the story and all that, we then come to a point as I did with my dad. And I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who acknowledged the time of my dad passing in the last couple of weeks, and to also you all being so patient and waiting for our love speaks, because we had to keep pushing it along as things unfolded. So thank you all for that. And I can tell
new beginnings.
Exactly. And I can tell you now that all of that love that you were sending me, I could feel all that. I was wrapped in this beautiful cocoon of marshmallowy, soft gorgeousness. And I know it was from all of you sending to me. It was really beautiful. I'm going so goosebumps saying that because it's just so true. But what I wanted to say was that, yes, I grieved, and I had tumultuous time, I suppose, in probably the last week of his life, because I saw him wanting to go and his body wasn't going to give up. You know, your body will do whatever it can to keep you alive. That's what it does. No matter what we feed it or throw in it, you know, it just will. And so that's what I was seeing with Dad. And I was thinking how amazing the body is in doing that job. But of course, it was tiring and frustrating for him. He just wanted to go, but he didn't have a cancer or anything that was taking him out. He just had to go natural causes, really. So anyway, he did eventually do that. But I went into this huge fear before going down to the funeral, because I had a week where we were organising it and then having to travel down to Taipi. And in that time, I had this huge amount of fear come up and this emotion that was just like major anxiety. And I was thinking, this is not me. I don't do this stuff. And why have I got that? And it was, I wanted to avoid actually going to the funeral. I didn't want to do the funeral. I wanted to just leave it where it all was. He could just be where he was for now, and I didn't want to have to do it. One, because I didn't want to face people that I know I've outgrown now, and I just, you know, I had this thing around being around all these people that I just didn't resonate with anymore, and all of that, which was I want to say silly, because for me, there is no, in the general side of me, there is no this, them, us type of stuff. It was like, well, we can all be there. It's all okay. And it was actually, it really was. We'll get to that bit. But up until that, my head was going into, oh my God, that person's going to be there and that person's going to be there. And, you know, but the biggest fear was around actually once we had put Dad in the ground, basically, that was it. I didn't have a dad anymore, you know, and it was that was the bit I wanted to avoid, not having a dad. And coming to that point of, well, I'm an orphan. You know? What is that going to feel like? Yeah. Which is so ridiculous. It's such a human child thing. That's what I was seeing, was my little girl who loved my dad so much, hung out with him. We were best mates, you know, throughout my life. And I said at the funeral, he seems like he was my life partner in many ways, you know. And so I wanted to avoid the actual ending of that. But in all honesty, like once I got through the anxiety and the fear of it, and it was gripping fear, it was terrible, but it was very short. It was only a few hours and I was through it and we were all good. And then, of course, go down to do this whole mission. And it was just amazingly beautiful. He had transitioned. He was so stoked that he actually made it over there. He was like doing the little Irish jig, you know, not that he's Irish, but he was just doing this little jig. Like, he was just so stoked. And that, in all of that, I realized I actually don't need to grieve him. I can choose to not do the, oh, I'm so sad, and, you know, carry it as a burden, really, and a victim, and play out that for whatever we do. You know, I'm not saying we do it for sympathy, but that's what we get. And for me, that felt embarrassing in a sense, that because I didn't need to do that. I just didn't need to. So where I'm going is, we come to a point in life where we've worked through enough of our stuff within us. That was always those triggers that took us into those deep, dark dives. We come to a point where we can decide whether we wish to go there or we don't. It's just that, so simple. It's really, really simple when we get there, that you can just choose to actually do that, or do I not want to do that? I can choose not to do that. because that's what's expected of somebody when somebody's passed over or we lose a relationship in whatever way. It's that we tend to go into a very deep sadness and grief and mourn for 10 years or so. Well, not if you don't want to.
No.
And I think this is coming to a point now where vibrationally and frequency wise on the planet and with our bodies, we've moved everything up and out so fast in these last few years that we are now in that point where we can choose to be in the emotion or not.
Absolutely. That was a beautiful, beautiful sharing, Mandy.
Thank you.
And I was so one of the ones holding you in love right through that time, you know, and honoring your journey. And you know, because the program is dissolving now and we are moving out of it, the death space has altered greatly. So the death space was always part of the program. This slightly different frequency where when the body died, our soul energy went into this new frequency, which we had been led to believe was this beautiful heaven on earth sort of thing. But really for many here, it was kind of like a recycling, a holding space and a recycling back into being born again. But the death space is dissolving completely now. It's gone, actually. It has already gone. And so when somebody transitions out of their body, they stay right here. There is only this timeline now, and they stay right here. And this is why you and so many others feel a loved one so clearly now, and can experience them so clearly because they are here, they are right here. And the time will come in the new world, way further down the track, where there is no such thing as death whatsoever. We know that we transition form and we transition back. And we can do that as time travelers, which is a truth that's growing in us now, that we're multidimensional, which means we can time travel. We will drop this body and we will just time travel to anywhere we want to be and to experience. And if that means staying right here in the new world, or if that means going to what we believe is the past, which is all happening right now, or to a future, which is, of course, again, right now, or to any civilization, we just do that. And this is all going to be so available to us as we open into our truth and our knowing. So, you know, when I was going on that journey with you and over those weeks with your passing of your dear dad, I went in and was with him for a very brief time too. I never knew him in this life, but I certainly felt his big breath out, his finally the feeling of being so free, so expanded, so back in the knowing of who he was in truth, you know. And you saying you're doing a Highland jig is just about on form for the energy that I felt in him, the pure joy and celebration of being able to release himself here from the programming and never to be back in that programming again, you know. So
no.
Yeah, it's actually a celebration now for all those that will be transitioning, because their choices are going to be so much more now. They're not just caught in this wheel of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. There's so much more to choose from again now.
Yes. And I think you know, in saying that about the choice and you know, of whether we run an emotion or we don't, I mean, that is something that until you move a lot of your old triggers out that are really quite powerful, you don't really have a choice. It just is there. But when you get to that point. But the other thing is too, that I think what I'm seeing is now there's a huge amount of us that really know who we are, you know, and there's so many others that are coming in that are really getting that as well. So therefore, I just want to say too, is to stop playing small. You know now who you are. And I feel like this whole past 2 years, has really brought that about for people. It's really made people look internally, really look at their world, their life, their choices, and this is still now continuing. Of course, people are still coming through looking and going, oh, well, I'm really over this now and I'm going to do this. And so lots and lots of new purposes coming into line, which are all new beginnings. This is like, there is a major ending going on here, but it's for our highest good. It's not what we've been taught or told to believe, is that this is about all these controllers and they have all this power over us. No way, that is not correct. It's a game, it's a play. If you think about theatre, and it's a theatre play playing out, there's certain characters that are doing some really evil, hard out stuff to wake us up. Humans have to have shock to wake up. That's something that has been proven. And why we do, I have no idea, because it's like, who wants to do that all the time? Have these big shake-ups. And the horrific stuff that has to happen for us to be awake or to wake up is just like, wow. Anyway, we're getting there, and more are. But it's now really acknowledge who you are. Acknowledge that you are not just for this physical body going through this horrendous, dark state. You are light, you are magnificent, and you are loved, and you love. And that is all you need to know. And I feel like the biggest and most important thing that we can do here is pay attention to our ascension. That's all there is. There's nothing else. And this stuff that's going on is creating more of your ascension. That's what's happening. And so welcome this new beginning. Embrace it and love it and create yourself in it in the best way that you possibly can, because that's what's important. It's total.
Completely agree with you. Of course.
Yeah.
It's the new beginning is us awakening into the deepest trust within ourselves again. And we have lived in the heaviest fear for so long, so long, that to step out of that fear brings the very fear itself into play. To step into the unknown is hugely fearful. And that is what it feels like for most at the moment, is that we're being given no choice because of the play outside of ourselves, because the way the world is. We're pushed into a corner and we're given no choice. We have to change, or we feel we'll perish. That is where it is now. So people are afraid. If they admit it to themselves, they're very fearful about stepping out of what they've known all their life, and may not have given them any deepest love and joy, but it's known, and there's moments of happiness and there's moments of the good stuff, but there's so much of the heavy, ugly stuff as well. But that's, a lot of people would just say that's life, that's just the way life is. Well, I challenge that now. That is not the way our life is at all. That is the way it has been, and that is ending now. And the new beginning right now is all those possibilities and opportunities that are rising now as we release all the old habits and all the old ways of being that we knew ourselves as, and we create space for these new opportunities and possibilities to come on in. And it's the same with all those in your life that you have known, that you have been around, that you have been connected with, beautiful friends and family members and that. If those relationships are no longer working, do not cling to them. Do not hold on to what is not feeding your highest good now. Step gently back. Step gently back and create the space for you to come in to yourself and to know yourself. And then you will see new ones come into your life, new people that resonate more with you, that see you and you see them, that you can have those longed for conversations on the new world that's rising now, rather than those conversations where somebody's stuck in the past and they can't get past that, you know. So it's a wonderful, wonderful time of realizations and growing truths, and you know, and learning the power of the gentleness within us, and the power of all those parts of us that we were pulled away from for so long because we were surviving rather than living. And you know, we don't have to do that anymore. Like, we are there now that we don't have to do that anymore. And all the narrative that's flying around the world now, and all the things that anybody may read that are about to happen, that this is going to happen, this is definitely going to happen, and oh my God, did you hear that? That is going to happen. Let it go. Let it go. Yes. And watch it not happen in your life, because you are not a part of it and you're not caught up in the energy of it. Come back into your heart, where only beautiful things happen, and realize that you can create your life from there, and whatever's going on out there that other people are all caught up in will have a very, very limited effect on you in your life if you're not in it, buying it, living it, and being in the energy of it. We've got to understand now, it's time to realize that we create our world, we create our lives, and if we live in the fear of something, we draw it to us. If we live in the love of something, we draw it to us. So
that's right. And you know, there's that saying, you know, your vibe attracts your tribe. Well, our vibe attract that was necessary for us all the way through our life. That's what we've done emotionally, whatever the vibration was that we were running and you know, and projecting out there, we were getting that back. We were riding with that, and the people that connected to that vibration would connect to that vibration with us. Now it's time for us to move from that. You know, we've done all the old history, the old, you know, we've regurgitated the story of this earth and history on it forever. And this is again just a regurgitation again of the whole narrative that we've been living in forever and ever, and it just keeps repeating. And we've been going round and round and round. And now we have an opportunity to really step out of that and let it go. And, you know, if we could start imagining the type of world that we would really love to live in, you know, the type of world that really accommodates somebody like ourselves who are high vibrational, magical co-creators. And when we look at what we've co-created together in this whole muck up that we've done, and not a muck up, but, you know, the mess, and its perfection, of course, too. So it's, you know, we can't even call it a mess. It's actually perfect. And
perfect
when we
look, mess.
Exactly, it's a perfect mess. And if we look at how we all co-created that, because we all believed it. We've all believed that narrative and that script, which, you know, has been programmed through to us in different ways over many, many lifetimes, as we've said. And now we have the opportunity to step out of that and to really let it go. And I know for myself, one of the things that was a little bit sort of for me was the money in the bank thing. You know, the banks are all going to do their thing, and so quickly shift it, you know, get it out of the banks and shift it and all that stuff. And shifting it was a whole new education. Like I had to really start learning about, okay, where are we going with this then? You know, that's the old way. Well, what's the new that I'm looking at here? So then there were all these different avenues you could go and have a look down, and that's what I did, and came to a space where I thought, okay, I'm starting to get this now, you know. So the more I learned, the more it sort of felt like, yep, this feels like my sort of thing. And so therefore there was then the option to go in and to change that from that, you know. And once I'd got through and found out a bit more about it, then the fear sort of went. So sometimes knowledge and finding answers for yourself is definitely the answer, in finding and your way through the fear, the gripping fear that stops us, you know. And because this is all so different, like it is really different, we're moving from something that, even though it's been uncomfortable, it's been a security for us. We've been in our own comfort zone in this world of perfect mess. And now, you know, looking out of that and from that, it just feels so expanded and so beautiful. And this stuff here is moving further away from me now than it has been, to, where I can feel this freedom, this expansion, this total, it's not about the darkness, it's really about the light. I just that. And that light is really transforming everything. You know, it's really exposing and transforming. So
totally. Yes, I you know, I went out, whenever I go out into the city, I'm totally taken with how I used to be a part of that world, as if it's lifetimes ago. Like every time I'm surprised at myself at how disconnected from even the signs on the sides of buildings that say what companies are in that building, and that all the traffic lights and the cars and all the people. And it's like, wow, I used to be a part of this world. How long ago was that? When did the disconnection from that happen? You know? And that's in moments like that I realize how far away from the old world I've moved. And so I use that as a measure. And you know, the other part from what you just said is that with the financial system, you took action. So in taking the action, you dissipated your fear. And exactly. I'd invite everybody to hear that bit, because we can't just move out of fear often by just doing the inner work. Sometimes we actually have to take physical action. And the old saying is, for every step we take, the universe takes 10. And so we step out into the world and take action, physical action, and it's like the universe meets us by coming in 10 steps in with the result of that action. And that's just simply us being in the energetic flow of where our focus is as the creators. But it is important to remember that action is required, and not just because sometimes we can fool ourselves a little by saying, well, we're doing the inner work and nothing's happening, but really there may still be a bit of a fear there in stepping out and taking some action into something new, you know. So they go hand in hand. We are physical beings. We may be vibrational beings in a physical body, but we are in a physical body in a physical reality, and physical action is part of that.
That is, it definitely is. And you feel the prompting when you move yourself internally. You feel that prompt to physically move yourself.
Yes.
Once you've done it, and it's a cool thing. I love it. I you know, I'm often ready to jump before it's time. So, you know, Spirit have often had reins on me going, hang on, it's not time yet. But, you know, I'm going, no, I just want to, come on, this is what we came here for. Let's get on with it.
Let's do this thing.
Yeah, I do. I get frustrated sometimes in having to be patient, because it's like not time just yet. But, you know, everything's prompting me in many ways to actually just do it.
Sometimes we have to wait to catch up with ourselves too. Like
we do.
Yeah. So sometimes we say, as you say, we're so willing, so wanting, so ready. We feel we're ready, but there's still aspects of us, parts of us that are catching up to that point of readiness. Yes.
And I remember Spirit giving me a bit of a hoy up one day, and years ago, and I was in a rush, you know, come on. And they said, how arrogant are you to think you're the only energy in the universe?
But at a point,
in other words, you know, just hold on there, girl. Yeah, funny. Oh, it's terrible. I've calmed down a lot though. I know timing's perfect, you know, and most everything now. So it's like I don't rush it, but
yeah, well, it's a journey, isn't it? It's a journey to us as well. Yeah. Yeah. So, and sometimes we don't want that journey. We want to go from like, I remember my team saying to me one day, Janine, you want to go from A to Z without all the letters in between sometimes, and it just doesn't work like that. You know, you've got to go through the whole alphabet at times.
Yeah, and I, you know, that just reminded me of something. When my kids were little, my two girls, I remember them asking me questions, and I'd be, oh my God, you know what that is? And I'm going, as a soul, they know. As a kid here, no, they didn't. And I would have to come back into human mum going, oh no, it's the kid that's asking me, you know, but because I'd get frustrated. Why are you asking that question? You know what that is. Well, and then it's like that with myself just going there. I was just looking at that, seeing how I was rushing off. And the kid, the human person, had to actually get the parts, you know, the parts to it. I couldn't just be the soul, rush off and do it. Yeah. So the human part of me has been frustrated a lot over my life.
That is where the frustration's always held. It's frustration is a mind thing. So that's the human part of us. Yeah. So that's what I mean by catching up with ourselves. We have to wait till some aspects catch up in their readings as well.
Yes. So lots of new beginnings starting, and you know, there's so many beautiful things that are starting to really take form in what we would call our new world being created. But I've been getting for quite a while now to, you know, just pull our focus out of the mess, the perfect mess, and you know, what is it that your world's looking at now? What do you want your world to be? What is it? You know, that's a little still a little phased for me, I have to say, because this is the other part I think is quite, I don't know, we'll talk about it, but what I feel is like when we come into the present moment, when we're present in that moment as we're living our life now more and more, you know, like that time in my turmoil around the 2 years stuff and how it took me down the rabbit holes, I wasn't present in the moment. I was still traveling backwards, you know, and coming forward back, but going on. But when we're present in the moment and living in that space of neutral and centered and aligned with who we are, what we are, there is nothing we require.
No.
So when I go, what do I want my world to look like? My world looks like it's amazing right now. For me, it is.
Exactly.
What do I need to add into it? I actually don't. You know, so I'm finding that, and I feel like that, because for me, I'm going, you know, in my head, I'm like having this little convo with myself going, but if you're not looking at something, you won't be creating into your future, but you are in the moment. Every time we're present in the moment and we're feeling the joy and the love and the gratitude and the expansion of that moment right now, we're creating that into our future.
Yeah.
So of course that's what we're doing. And in the moment, there'll be a choice of whether we want to get in the car today and go to the beach, or whether we stay at home and we park up on the couch, or we go and do the garden, or whatever we might do. In the moment, there's a choice, and it's in that moment of how we feel about it in that moment and doing that, whatever it is. Absolutely. And that there is the part. I feel like if we go out and do the garden and we're angry and we're annoyed and we're in that rant, and we're planting plants, you know, and veggies, well, what are we feeding ourselves?
That's right. Yeah.
You know, so there's a choice in the moment every time when we choose something as to how we actually want to receive that. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. All our power is found in the now. So in the now moment, being present in the presence, you know, is another way of putting it. And that is our most powerful creative point of consciousness, is to know ourselves in the moment. But a lot of people don't know how to bring themselves into the moment. They have overactive minds, and the minds have controlled their entire lives. And it's simply, I say simply, because once we get it, it's about us consciously taking control back from our minds. So we control our mind rather than our mind control us. And coming present into that moment is a brilliant way of doing it. And coming into the breath is a brilliant way of doing it as well. So the mind has something to do in that moment by concentrating on the breath. And
Yes.
and you know, creating how we see our beautiful new world to be is only limited by our mind, and our mind cannot conceive of what it doesn't know, and we have nothing to compare the new world with the world that we're in right now. So what my realization is that it's all conceptual, and we'll only find out about the new world as we move into it. And that's us growing. That is us growing back into the truth of who and what we are. And as we do that, we're growing into the new world and forming the new world. So we've got so much to look forward to. In fact, everything that moving forward we have is looking forward to. And as you said before about the light, it is all about light in the new world, and nothing about the shadows in the dark, because they're all part of the program of this world, this reality that we don't fit into. And we are light beings. We are not whole beings of shadow and light like we've been told, and I even believe that for quite a while. We are light beings, and we exist fully in neutrality. So we take
that's right.
Yeah, so there is so much coming to so many now, so many realizations and so many new and deeper awarenesses, and this is the new world forming through every one of those new pieces is part of the new world coming into view.
That's right. We're going back to what we began as, you know, and that's exciting. But I'm excited about where we're at and what's going on and how we're from here. You know, to me, I'm just excited I just like that, want to rush into it, but we'll take our time. But I was going to say something then too around the mind stuff. You know, we're moving from our lower ego human mind into our higher conscious mind. So there is a big switch over, and that's why we're all forgetting things. Like, you know, we get partway into it. I mean, you're saying about living out in the world, you know, when I go out in the world now, I can't even remember where the shops are. Like, what shop am I going to? Where actually was that now? And don't tell me a street name, because I can't remember any of them. It's like it is fading from us, definitely, and very quickly, to be honest, too, which I'm happy about. And that choice again, where we just don't have to go into the narrative, the story. We don't have to make something, like a lot of this too is showing up where it's either you're on this one or you're on this one, you know, and it's not just about this or that. It's everything. There's so much in between all that, these two, you know, it's not just one way. And I think that's something that people have sort of been sitting with, is just that I'm either in that side or I'm on this side, you know, and it's not quite like that.
No.
I also remember too, you know, when I first started and I formed my sort of business in this, I was Pathways to the Soul. And then all of a sudden, many years though had gone, and then all of a sudden it was like, I need to change that. It's not soul anymore, it's light. So then we were Pathways to the Light for many years. And I saw how light was showing me that it doesn't actually carry memory. The soul carries memory, and that's what we've been working with all of our soul memory. And now we're moving out. It's like almost like we're now taking that overlay of who we needed to, what we needed from our soul, as in bringing in the memory and the reminding us that we've lived other lifetimes, And also memory is what creates emotion. So therefore, like, we wouldn't have emotion if we didn't have memory. So we have feeling, love, joy, those sorts of things from heart and light, but we don't actually have memory from what I know. So this is like we switched over, and we're still switching that. We're coming more out of our soul journey stuff into our light being, for me anyway. And I know people will probably, and I might be totally wrong, I don't know that there's two different. I think it's blended, but there's quite a defining thing from soul to light for me. And, you know, more of that will show up, I suppose.
The wonderful thing right now is that you can have your truth, and I can have my truth, and that one can have their truth. Everybody can hold their own truth, and because we know now that right now in this moment, that is our truth. We firmly believe that because it resonates with us. But we also know that in a moment it can morph and change, it can grow on itself, it can deepen, and new truth's always coming in. So, you know, it's like, oh, crikey, some of the things that I have believed over the years, some that I would say is my truth, is no part of who I am now, but it was then, you know. So it's like we're always morphing ourselves in version from version from version as we take on whole new truths, and they shape who we are. And so I often say to people, you know, you're coming into the new world version of yourself now, and this will hold a whole more expanded truth of who you are and how life is. And so it's lovely for me personally when I'm in conversation with somebody that has your expanded knowing, and you share your truth, and you know, and sometimes you won't agree with what I say, and sometimes I won't agree with what you say, but we honor each other in our seeing of each other to really be there for you in your truth, and you for me and my truth. And that's the part that I'm really loving with the conversations that are happening now with like-minded hearted beings. Is there's no you're wrong, no totally that does not resonate, so you're wrong. We just hold it and in ourselves, okay, I can take pieces of that, but part of that I'll let go as well, because my truth's slightly different there. But you know, it's all honoring, and that's the beauty of deeper conversations now. And we know that we're creating through our conversations too, that everything has a place and everything has a potential. So all conversations are honored because of their creating ability as we're putting them on the table between us, like right now in this moment. You know, everything is moving out into the field energetically, vibrationally, and there's opportunities and possibilities that come from that. So it's lovely. I love these conversations.
Me too. Me too. And we've had a great lot of response from viewers here too. I love how Vitaly says, I love how in sync we all are. I catch myself saying yes to everything that is said here. Thank you.
Beautiful, Vitaly. Love you, man. Love you, darling, man.
And Dorcas says, thank you so much. I'm starting to understand. Love and hugs to you both.
Oh, fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Laura says, timely. Thanks for sharing. So yeah, it is timely. This conversation was definitely timely in this beautiful, perfect mess we're in.
Yes, isn't that a fabulous way of looking out at the world? The perfect mess. So there's perfection. There's perfection in it, but it's still a mess. You know,
so much perfection in it. It's beautiful, eh? Oh, that's lovely, Janine. I think we've covered it, really, haven't we?
Yeah. It's been a fabulous hour of talking about endings and new beginnings, and great title, great conversation, and thank you. It's been beautiful. Thank you for all the viewers that may watch this, that have seen it now or may watch it in the future, and I look forward to all the comments.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you to all you viewers out there. It's been lovely, and this will be up on our pages. I will edit it and then put it back up through YouTube, so it'll be around for sure. All right. Well, much love to you all. And thank you, Janine, again
Lots of
for
love.
partnering up. Mwah.
Yeah.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye-bye.